Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Mitchell, did you put it in the... Did they know? Yes. Good. Okay. All right, everybody, welcome. We'd like to welcome... Can we keep it quiet in the back, please? Thank you. We'd like to welcome Danny List, who is the Charles Sifford Memorial Sponsor Exemption into the event, into the Genesis Invitational this year in 2025. Danny, I guess I'll ask first, when you found out about the exemption, when you received it, what was your initial reaction, and whereabouts were you when you got it?
Yeah, I was on the driving range, just doing a bit of practice, and I'd seen a unknown phone number calling me, and I never answer unknown numbers. I don't know, it's just not something I do. And for some reason, something told me to just pick it up, and I did. And it was the phone call from Mr. Antolini inviting me to the event. And as he's kind of telling me, I knew what was going on, and I was getting a few goosebumps, and yeah, it was pretty special moment for me. So that was pretty great.
After you hung up the phone, what sort of emotions were going through you?
I was like, call my mum as soon as I could. I don't think I got a lot of practice done after that. I was just over the moon. So called my mum straight away. She couldn't have been more excited, and yeah, it was it kind of was pretty surreal.
All right, we'll start with some questions, and we'll start with Cameron Morfitt right here. Thank you. Go ahead, Cameron.
Danny, I think you're pretty, or somewhat familiar anyway, with the DP World Tour. I was wondering out here if there's any awe factor in terms of seeing players that maybe you've watched on television, and whether you're sort of having any pinch me moments out there where you're walking past some of these guys in the practice area.
Yeah, like you said, I have had a bit of experience playing on the DP World Tour, so I've got a bit of a taste of it. Not really to this caliber that it is this week. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of guys that I had never seen before, and I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself and say hi to them. Outside of that, my strategy is kind of just keep my head down a little bit, not get too wrapped up in who's here, and just treat it like any other golf tournament.
Can you give me a name or two on who that would have been?
Yeah, it was probably Rory was the guy. He kind of has a little bit of that aura.
And what was that like? I mean, what was the reaction like when you met him?
I don't know if he knew I was playing in the event, so it was a pretty brief one. I might have stuttered once or twice, but yeah, it was pretty cool. He's probably next to Tiger. He's probably the guy I've looked up to the most in the world of golf. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
We'll go over to Jeff.
Danny, you reside here in San Diego now, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Where do you play your golf around here, and what's your familiarity level with Torrey Pines South?
Yeah, so I haven't had the chance. I've played Torrey a few times, not much, maybe only a handful of times. It's not the easiest to get a tee time out here most of the time, but I play at the Grand in Del Mar. A part of the reason for coming to San Diego is the former director of golf was a UW Husky like myself, Sean Cox, and he gave me a good agreement to come out, and great facilities, and yeah, it's a really good spot.
Cool, thanks.
We'll go back to Cameron.
Tiger Woods, who obviously is the tournament host, he was going to play, and then he's not going to play. What's been your experience like? Have you met him? Have you hung out with him? Have you talked to him on the phone? And obviously, what was it like kind of watching him as a boy? I'm assuming you watched a lot of golf on television, and he was central to all of that.
Yeah, I haven't really had a chance to meet him yet, or I'm hoping, hopefully we'll get to meet him this week. Obviously some things are out of our control, but yeah, I think I've spent probably 1,000 hours watching Tiger Woods hit a golf ball. Back in Ghana, where I spent my early years, we were about 8 hours ahead most of the time in the US, so it was a good time that in the mornings where the PGA Tour was on, I was done with school and I was able to turn it on. So, yeah, I got to watch him a lot for sure.
And then just last one from me. What is your sort of end game? Would you like to be a global player like Rory playing here and DP World Tour as well? And what do you how do you envision your career unfolding?
Yeah, I think my main goal is to be a regular player on the PGA Tour, but I think there's definitely a lot of value to being a global player and being able to impact the game on a global scale. So I think I would like to kind of hang around what Rory does a bit and be able to travel the world a lot and play golf.
All right, we'll come over to the front and then we'll come to you, Adam.
Following up on that about impacting the game, can you explain what you're doing as far as your foundation? And also, can you give us the brief background of how you got started in golf? How big is golf in Ghana? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so I got started in golf at probably 2 or 3 years old. I was gifted some plastic clubs and we just hit it around the house. And yeah, there was a golf course. There aren't many golf courses in Ghana. Maybe I want to say less than 10 in the whole country. And the conditions of the golf course are pretty shocking for the most part. But yeah, so as far as my foundation, I was over there a few years ago on holiday, and growing up there were never any other kids that I would play with. All my mates would be playing soccer or basketball, whatever it may be. And I'd started to hear and see a little bit more of the interest from kids in the area, in the local village, that there would be a 3-foot kid playing with a 4-foot golf club. And so I can see the love and the desire for the game is there. And it just started off that, okay, I can help out with some equipment. I could throw some clinics and teach the basics to these kids. And that's kind of how it started, and it's just grown very organically, where we've got some support from various entities around the country that they've seen the traction that it's bringing and the way that the love of the game is growing over there. To now where we have kids that are traveling internationally to play in events in the UK. So, one of the young girls, she's the best junior in the country, Afi. She's 15 years old, and we were able to send her to the UK for a few months last summer, and she could test her skills against kids in the UK, which she'd never really got to putt on fast greens or anything like that. So she learned a lot, and those kinds of opportunities and that exposure is what we're really trying to give to the kids.
How did you progress from Ghana to the University of Washington?
So I was able to earn a scholarship to a school in the UK called Wellington, and that was at about 13 years old. And prior to that, anytime I would play any junior event internationally, I would come over and I would just get waxed by everyone else. I would come almost dead last, thinking, maybe it was partly me, but, I would, wherever I'd go, whether it was, I get to, England wasn't too far from Ghana, so if I got to play a tournament there, I'd never seen greens like that. Where I grew up, the greens are probably a 2 on the stimp meter, so it wasn't the easiest kind of transition. So, but there was a scholarship available at that school, and I went and did a trial, and I won it. And my mum and I, we made a tough decision. It wasn't easy. She was, and then she decided that send me over there and see where it takes me, and managed to do well in junior golf over there and win a few things, and that's how I got recruited to Washington.
All right, we'll go across to Adam and then to Doug.
Where was this range that you got the call on?
It was at the Grand in San Diego. Yeah, it was.
Okay, and when you're said 2 or 3 when you started. Was it who got you into the game? Who had the love, and where did their interest in it come from?
Yeah, so my uncle, he grew up as a caddy at that same local golf course. So he was mostly a soccer player, but he was able to learn the game through that. So he taught me a lot in my early years.
What age did you think you would pursue a career in this game?
Probably a bit deluded, but maybe 9, and then, but where I seriously thought it was a possibility was probably around 17 or so. Yeah, that was kind of when I started to really progress.
And do you know how you injured your back, and what was the amount of time that you were away from the game due to it?
Yeah, it was, so I had a stress fracture in my L4, L5. I'm a fairly slight guy. I'm not the biggest lad, but I weigh close to 180 pounds. But prior to that injury, I was about mid 150s, and I was just putting a ton of stress on my body, the way I was swinging it, getting a little bit of reverse spine angle, and eventually it just gave out. And wasn't doing the right stuff in the gym or eating the right stuff, so it kind of, with the stress of the professional golf life and the schedule, it kind of caught up to me a bit.
What year was that?
That was 2023. So I was out for a year. So pretty much I didn't start swinging again until maybe a year ago, around about this time last year.
All right, you finished, Adam? We'll go to Doug.
This is kind of a weird one, Danny, but how does the process work where if your mother's from Ghana and your father's Australian and you were born in Macon, Georgia?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Nothing against
my
Macon.
mom was just visiting my aunt, and and the doctor told her she couldn't fly home, so had to stick around for a bit more.
You and Russell Henley, okay.
Yeah.
How do you decide under which flag to play? You're under the Australian flag. Did you have options?
Yeah, it's I kind of wish I could do 2, so I'd love to represent Ghana and Australia. But through my junior golf and amateur golf, Golf Australia was quite supportive and would do the training camps and the team stuff. So there was much more possibility for support on various fronts, whether it was coaching or financial from Australia than Ghana. That was pretty much the main reasoning.
Okay. Did you play Qatar?
I did play in Qatar. Yeah.
What status do you have?
I have my full DP card.
Where did you get from Q School?
Q School, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on. Yeah, we'll go back. Yeah, back to the front.
A couple more quick ones. Who's your coach now?
I work with Me and My Golf. Yeah, 2 British lads, Andy and Pierce. Yeah.
And what are your expectations for this week?
My expectation is just to have a good fun week. Whatever happens on the golf course is all gravy.
What did you think of? Did you play today at all?
No, I just did a bit of practice today. Yeah.
I saw you out there yesterday. What are your thoughts on the conditions and how the course is playing?
I was saying to my coaches, Tori's looking so pure right now. It's whatever they've done in these few weeks since the Farmers, they've crushed it. It's looking amazing.
Danny, you finished 3rd just a couple of weeks ago in Africa on a Challenge Tour event, or a Hotel Planner Tour now with the name change. So you're bringing in some pretty good form. What are the strengths of your game, and what do you think you need to do at Torrey Pines to be successful?
Yeah, I feel as though I usually say my 2 strengths would be my driving and my mid-range putting. So normally for me, if those 2 things are firing, that's conducive to some good scores for me mostly.
All right. You have anything else for Danny? All right. We appreciate your time and good luck this week.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Why do you say you stay here? Can we cut the